Stimați telespectatori, bine v-am regăsit la emisiunea Shalom Israel, o emisiune despre istoria, cultura, religia și viața poporului Israel. Mișcarea mesianică în vremurile de azi reprezintă reapariția expresiei evreiești a Eclesiei. În cea mai mare parte a istoriei creștinismului, Biserica creștină nu a permis manifestarea în sânul ei a niciunei componente a identității evreiești, a credincioșilor evrei în Yeshua, Isus. Din această cauză, mișcarea mesianică se consideră pe sine ca o înviere din morți, așa cum scrie în Romani 11:15, despre actuala acceptare de către Dumnezeu a poporului evreu. Inițiativa Towards Jerusalem Council 2, spre sinodul al doilea de la Ierusalim, este o consecință directă a apariției mișcării mesianice moderne, iar viziunea acestei inițiative, TGC2, este aceea a reconcilierii evreilor și neamurilor în trupul lui Hristos, Mesia. Altfel spus, viziunea îndeamnă la o acceptare reciprocă între credincioșii evrei și dintre neamuri, personal și corporat. Dar bisericile creștine vor recunoaște legitimitatea și locul credincioșilor evrei în Yeshua, Isus, numai dacă au cunoștințe despre mișcarea mesianică și dezvoltă relație cu comunitățile mesianice. De aceea, un rol al TGC2 este de a face cunoscută mișcarea mesianică lumii creștine. Cine sunt de fapt evreii mesianici? Care sunt particularitățile lor? Cum au apărut ei? Ce cred evreii mesianici și ce practică ei? La conferința organizată de mișcarea TGC2 la Seminarul Teologic Ortodox Neamt, în zilele de 6-9 iulie 2009, am avut privilegiul de a realiza un interviu cu domnul Eyal Friedman, evreu mesianic din Ein, Israel. Domnia sa este unul din liderii tineri ai mișcării TGC2 spre sinodul al doilea de la Ierusalim și implicat în dialogul între tinerii credincioși mesianici și tinerii creștini din întreaga lume. Să urmărim acest interviu. Dear friends, welcome to our TV show Shalom Israel, a show about the life, history, culture and religion of Israel. We have the privilege to have as guest today Mr. Eyal Friedman from Israel. Welcome, Mr. Friedman.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be with you.
You came in Romania to participate to a special conference called Towards Jerusalem Council 2 in the monastery of Neamt. What is the purpose of your coming here today to participate at this conference?
Well, I mainly came to represent the Messianic Jewish element of the body of Messiah, as this TJC2 vision has in mind to somehow bring together the different parts of the Church of Christ together with the Messianic Jews, and I'm part of that.
What is your connection with TGC2? You are part of the organizers or you are a speaker here?
I've been attending these meetings for some years now, and I've been following. It's very much on my heart, so I try to attend all the conferences, consultations they have, if I can make it. And in this particular conference, I was asked also to share some things, and yeah, I'm also involved with young people that are interested in TJC2.
You mentioned that you are a believer in Yeshua as Mashiach. As we know, there is a certain number of Jews all around the world who in the last years recognize Yeshua as Mashiach. What is your spiritual journey? What's determined you to discover this spiritual truth?
Well, it started very suddenly, very surprisingly one day. I was doing my Army Reserves duty. I was about 24 years old, and at that time I was totally secular. I didn't care so much about religion, not so much. I didn't care at all about religion. I didn't know anything. I was not searching for God in that sense. I was beginning to have different questions, like different general questions pertaining to the meaning of life, why am I here, etc. And I basically thought there are no answers. And that caused me a very deep depression. So then one day, just out of the blue, God intervened in a supernatural way. He did not present himself as God, but what happened to me was, I can only describe as something like the light suddenly came on. I all of a sudden had the understanding that there was something more to life than what I was experiencing, hearing, seeing, feeling. There was something beyond. Suddenly I knew it without a doubt that there was something there.
This happened in Israel?
It happened in Israel. I was on the beach doing my guard duty. It was very surprising, but at that time I accepted it as it was. It was something that happened. It caused me a very strong hunger for spirituality, for spiritual things. And it also gave me a sense of hope, which I did not have before. As I said, I felt there was no meaning to life. I suddenly had a feeling of hope, the experience of joy even beginning to fill me up.
Did you identify this experience like an intervention of God of Israel?
Not at all, not at all. Coming from a secular background, I had no idea what it was. I just knew something happened. I just knew that I was hungry. You know, when a baby is born, he doesn't know what mom is, what food is. He's just hungry. He wants to eat. That's what happened to me. I started looking for this thing. I had to eat spiritually. And the Lord really, he was very, very silent. He didn't say a word. He didn't direct me. He didn't show me anything. He just gave me faith and, so to speak, said, okay, go and look for me, something like that.
It's like somebody touching your shoulder and say...
And I turn around, there's no one there. But I knew that I had a touch. So this actually started my spiritual journey. I started looking in different places. I had my stepmother. At that time, she was involved with New Age and Buddhism and this kind of spirituality. And so I shared my experience with her. She gave me all kinds of books, and I started reading. I started eating that food, which today I know is very bad for you, for your health.
In Israel, there are many young people like you trying to find the truth everywhere.
Yeah, there are many, many, many young people especially. Not only young, but mainly young people who are looking for something more to life, especially in the time we're living in.
So you accepted what your mother-in-law offered to you?
I did very, very gladly.
No mother-in-law, stepmother, you said.
Stepmother. And she was very happy. I was very happy because I started reading and understanding that there's a whole world of spiritual, beings and things happening in the spirit. And it caused me joy in the beginning. And as the journey progressed, I started looking in different places. Even went to India to inquire a little bit into Hinduism, Buddhism. I attended many courses. I read many, many books. And
it was a sincere search.
It was a very sincere search. I can say it was something like, it was a feeling I had that I cannot really start living until I find this thing, like a foundation for my life. And I had no peace until I found it. Even in India, when I went there, I didn't enjoy for 1 second what was happening around me because I was so focused on finding this thing. It was such an intensive urgency in me to find this truth.
It's interesting because I know that many young Jewish boys and girls travel to India to find the truth, but the God of all universe revealed to Israel, this is not strange.
It is very strange. You know, when I was searching for the truth, I even for 1 second did not even think about looking in Judaism. I saw the religious Jews, which for me represented Judaism. I know there are different streams in Judaism, but for me, the Orthodox Jews represented Judaism for me. And I looked at them, and something in me said, no, it cannot be that. It cannot be that. So I just, I kept it aside. I didn't even touch it. And so I turned to other things, other gods, other religions. And during this whole period of time, this journey, the Lord, even though He was very silent, He was also very faithful in very gently drawing me to Himself. I'll give you an example. When I was in the States, I watched a film on television called The Last Temptation of Christ, which is a very bad film. It's very, very
perverted. It's a blasphemous movie.
Yes, it is. But there are some scenes there that are taken from the Bible, from the New Testament. And I was glued to the screen. I couldn't take my eyes off this man, of this person. There was something drawing me so strongly to him. The next day there was a rerun, and I watched it with the same intensity. I was hypnotized by the person. But it was something of the heart. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the fact that this is Jesus. I was just fascinated by this thing.
The
story, but the person. It was something very strange because I didn't connect what was happening to me. The Lord was drawing me, but in my mind, I was totally unaware of what was happening. When I looked at the cross, I was just standing there and staring at the cross, not understanding why. But it didn't cause me, let's say, to find the New Testament and read it. It didn't. So, I would say the real turning point in my search came when after I searched for quite a while, maybe 3 years, and I went into many, many, many things. I became so confused. This one says this, the other one says that. So what is the truth?
Was only a philosophical or a spiritual search, but or also some mystical or involved in some demonic?
Everything that is not of Yeshua involves demons, especially if you speak about spiritual things. Like in Buddhism, you have to commit yourself to the Buddha. Okay? So this is a spirit. There are many things. Like I said, my stepmother, she was very much into the occult, and she actually had powers. She had powers. She used to
occult powers.
Yeah. She used to do, tarot, palm readings, all kinds of stuff. And, of course, this involves evil spirits. And she was, reading in the coffee, all kinds of stuff. So I was involved in it. I was very much interested in these things and practicing some things, because I was genuinely looking for something to hold on to. And going back to the turning point in my life, it came at a very low point when I was very, very, even depressed more than I was before. I was at that time already using drugs to fill the emptiness, because as much as I thought in my mind that I was, getting higher on the spiritual ladder, getting more knowledge, in my heart,
This
was
is the old lie
emptiness.
of knowledge.
Yes, my heart was empty. I felt the same weaknesses I had before, even worse. My depression was worse. My dependency on drugs was very strong. Pornography, I was very much into that. Just trying to fill my life with something, because the emptiness grew so intensely. So, one day I said, enough, I cannot take it anymore. And there came this cry in my heart. And it was not even aimed at God very consciously. It was just aimed at something bigger than me. And this cry just said, help me, help me. And that's it. The next day, I was taking my dog for a walk, and two guys come up to me, start speaking to me about God, about faith, about Yeshua, Jesus. And yeah, we kind of connected, clicked, and they started inviting me. They belong to a community in Jerusalem, a community of believers from Switzerland. And they evangelize among the Jews, among the Arabs, and trying to bring reconciliation between the two people. And yeah, they started, sharing the gospel with me, showing me films about Yeshua.
But not before of your own requests, your personal requests of help.
No, that came after.
Only after.
It's amazing how the Lord is waiting for us to call upon Him. The moment I said, help me, He was right there.
Sending them.
Yeah. And yeah, that's how it started. I started reading the New Testament. I was amazed to find that it was all taking place in Israel, Galilee, Judea, Jerusalem, Pharisees, Sadducees. It was all so Jewish, so familiar in a way, because I was brought up secular. And but it was very, very difficult for me to understand this. That the whole concept of God, the God of the Bible, was so foreign to me, coming from my background, that I was really struggling to understand very basic issues like righteousness, holiness, judgment. In New Age, it's all peace and love, and you meditate and you come into nothingness.
No responsibility.
Nothing. So it was very difficult for me to make this switch in my mind. And in one of the meetings of this community, we kept in touch. They invited me to their meetings. In one of the meetings, I met Benjamin Berger, who is a Messianic Jew. He's a leader in Israel and Jerusalem. And he shared his testimony and how the Lord Yeshua revealed himself to him. And I figured, yes, he can answer my questions. He's a Jew. He had a real experience. I didn't question for 1 second the validity of his testimony. I looked in his eyes and I could see he was telling the truth. And so I came over to him. I asked different things. He tried to explain. It was very difficult for me. Anyway, to make a long story short, the connection between us was made. After a while, he invited me to come and live with him and his brother in a community they have. And after reading the scriptures, we were studying the scriptures very seriously, very deeply. After a while, I had to acknowledge to myself that, you know what, this is it. As strange as it may sound, that Yeshua is the truth.
Is the Messiah.
Is the Messiah.
What is the significance for a Jew to discover this? Because, as you know, the majority of Jewish people are waiting for the Messiah to come.
Yeah.
You suddenly realized that Messiah already came.
I actually, I looked, my search was very, very personal. I didn't really think about my people, how they related to Yeshua. In a way, I didn't care. I just followed my need for the truth.
You had too much problems yourself to carry the problems of others.
Yes, and also I wasn't even, aware of the fact. In a way, I know that the Jews reject Yeshua as Messiah, but I didn't really care. What I very, very urgently needed is to find the truth for myself.
After this discovering, how was your life? Because in Israel, the majority of people rejected Yeshua as the Messiah.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was difficult for my family because although they were used to my trying different things and doing crazy stuff, they could feel that this was different. When it comes to Yeshua, because it is the truth, because he is the truth, there is a reaction. If it's Buddha, okay. If it's, I don't know, something else, even Islam, okay, he's a crazy guy, but when it comes to Yeshua...
It's our.
Yeah. When it comes to Yeshua, then the real opposition manifests itself. With my family, they were more concerned about me personally because of my past, depression, etc. They were more concerned, especially as I moved to live in this community, which is a rather closed community. They thought it might be a sect or a cult or something strange, and they were a little concerned. And they tried to convince me to leave. But like it was with my relationship to my people, it was the same with my family. I didn't care what they thought, what they. In a way, it's kind of selfish or egoistic, but I knew this was more important for me than my family. And it was difficult also with my friends, because after coming to understand that Yeshua is the Messiah, and my life started to change. Things, past habits I had, drugs, music, different things, I had to stop.
What happened to all this?
Yeah,
stuff?
That stuff, it disappeared. I mean, gradually. It wasn't like a clear cut. It took time. But with my friends, I started speaking to them about Yeshua, and they grew tired of that. And I grew tired of them speaking about things that once interested me. The music of the world. We used to smoke drugs together. That I didn't do anymore after a while. So our paths somehow separated, and each one went his own way.
You became part of a special community, as I learned, of celibates. It's quite unique in Israel, as I learned from Benjamin Berger. What makes so special this community and attracting you as a young man to join and to live this life?
I cannot say that the community attracted me or the calling for celibacy attracted me. It was more like I was looking to God. I was looking for the truth, and the Lord. To this day, I don't know how I ended up in this community. To tell you the truth, it just the Lord. You know how you put blinds to the horses so they just walk straight. That's how the Lord dealt with me. He somehow. I don't know how it happened. I ended up in this community suddenly, and I came to the realization that Yeshua is the Messiah. At first, I didn't even pay attention to the fact that these two brothers were celibates. it was, the way it was. After a while, I started, asking the question, hey, these guys are not married. What's happening here? And there came a question in my own life, what about me? But this, I believe God put this desire or calling upon my life from the beginning, from my birth, because even in Buddhism, when I was interested in Buddhism, I was really thinking about becoming a monk, a Buddhist monk. So this somehow call was there. And when I started asking the Lord, I know most people, Messianics, they don't ask the Lord, do you want me to marry? They ask normally, who do you want me to marry? But I had the question, God, do you want me to get married? And the Lord is faithful. If you ask Him, He answers. So He started speaking to me about this. And there are some very clear verses from the Gospel of Matthew in chapter 19 where Yeshua speaks about those who make themselves as eunuchs for the sake of God's kingdom. When I read that, and then he goes on to say, not everyone understands this, but whoever is able to receive it, let him receive. And I was thinking, first of all, I do understand it, that it is a valid calling from God, and I think I'm able to receive it, but I needed more confirmations, and that came later. And for me, the actual point in my life when I could say yes to the Lord in this area was when I came to the point of understanding and knowing, more than understanding, knowing that He will be enough for me. Because at first I wasn't sure, is He enough? Will He satisfy all my needs? Will He fulfill me completely? And when I came to the knowledge that He will, I was able to say yes. And we had kind of a ceremony where I dedicated my life to the Lord. And it was a twofold commitment. One was to the Lord, not to marry. And the other aspect of this commitment was to the community, because I knew that this sort of calling, you cannot live by yourself. You just can't. You need brothers and sisters who share the same calling, whom you can live with and share this life in Yeshua.
This reminds me something related with John the Baptist. Many scholars presume that he belongs to the Essenians, this community of celibates that waited for the appearance of Messiah, and actually they had the role to prepare in some way the return or the appearance of Yeshua. It's possible that this kind of communal life, and as you live now, to be a revival of this old style of life of Jewish people during Jesus' time?
It's possible, in the historical churches, this calling is very, very normal.
But not in the Jewish people?
Not only in the Jewish Messianic movement, even in evangelical circles, Pentecostal, this calling is not so much accepted. And, when it could be a beginning of a resurrection of this kind of spirituality, of communal life. When we received the calling, both Benjamin, Reuven, and myself, we were not thinking about this. We were just asking God, what do you want of us? And He answered, and by His grace we responded positively. And we know that we will not remain three. We are sure that the Lord has more, whom He's calling for this life of celibacy. And we are, yes, are called to prepare the way, to open this door that has been closed for so many years.
How you became involved in the Towards Jerusalem Council II movement, and what this means to you?
I heard about the movement from Benjamin. He attended one of the European consultations of TJC2, and when he came back home, he told me about it, and immediately, just immediately, I knew this was from God, and this is very special, very, very special. And it has been on my heart from the beginning, the whole issue of the unity of the body of Messiah, reconciliation in Messiah. So when I heard about the vision, I knew this was something for me. And
how you describe, how to perceive the vision of TJC2, Towards Jerusalem Council II?
The vision of TJC2 is basically the reverse order of the first council, which we read about in Acts chapter 15. And at this time of this stage of history, as most of the believers in Yeshua are from the nations of a Gentile descent, and the Messianic Jews are, so to speak, coming back to the scene. The reemergence of the Messianic movement is happening all over. I would say the main vision of the TJC2 movement is to recognize the Messianic Jewish movement as something legitimate, as something that is coming from God, and that the Jews who believe in Yeshua are not to assimilate or lose their identity as Jews believing in Yeshua. I personally believe that the vision is much broader than this, and that the Lord will use this movement to actually reconcile the whole body of Messiah together, to bring it into unity, because Yeshua speaks very, very clearly about his desire that those who follow him will be one.
So the vision become part of your own life. And now what is your action towards the fulfillment of this vision?
I'm part of TJC2 in different ways. First of all, in prayer. That's very important. If you believe something, you have to pray for it. Secondly, I try to attend the meetings and be involved as much as I can. Thirdly, I'm also involved in the younger generation of TJC2, young leaders who were invited by the older ones to take part, to somehow catch the vision and run with it. And so I'm involved also with the young generation of leaders of TJC2, and we meet. It's something new. It's just beginning to happen, and there's a lot to be done as the younger generation.
You mentioned this understanding that the Towards Jerusalem Council II movement can have a role in unifying the Messianic body with the Church of the Gentiles. What is the role of the young generation in this call?
Yeah, the young generation. I would start with the role of the older generation. The older generation has opened the door, prepared the way. They've done many things already, so that we, as younger generation, will have it more easy, to come together. Like when the first time we came together as a younger group, we came together, we understood we have the same vision, that the Lord was calling us, and there was such a unity among us. And we know that this is the work of our fathers in the Lord, who prepared the way and who already worked in that direction. And they went through a lot, many challenges, a lot of repentance to one another. And so we as younger generation, I believe, are called to really carry the vision further. The older generation, of course, most of, or all of the members of the executive committee of TJC2 are very, very recognized and respected leaders in the universal body of Messiah, and all of them are very, very busy. Plus, I don't think they have the ability to reach the younger generation so much. I'm sure they have. I know that Father Peter Hawken has a lot of influence on many young people. But as young people, we have friends, we serve, we have ministries among the younger people, and we can spread the vision in our own circles. And the children are always called to go further than the fathers. And that's how it goes. Joshua brought the people into the promised land, which Moses didn't.
Yeah, different times, different jobs.
Exactly.
What is your understanding and vision regarding the future of the Messianic movement?
The future.
At large.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. The Messianic movement is, it's only beginning. It's in its infantry. How do you call it?
Childhood.
Infancy.
Infancy.
Yeah, we're a very young movement, and there are many, many challenges that we have to overcome. Many, many difficulties. Many of us are still immature in many ways. There's a long way to go. But I would say the main role of the Messianic movement would be, first, to be a testimony to the Jewish people about Yeshua, that he is the true Messiah, that he is the only way to God. And secondly, to the church at large, because the Jewish people have a calling from God to be a priestly nation. And one of the tasks of the priests was to bring the people together. And plus the role of Jerusalem as a unifying factor in the plan of God. And as Jews living in Israel, in Jerusalem, there's a lot of responsibility on us to somehow bring the people of God together, to be some kind of mediators. And you can see it already happening in TJC2. The whole vision was focused on recognizing the Jewish part in the body. In the process of doing that, many unsolved issues, past issues, like different strifes between different church denominations, were somehow addressed, and there was repentance, there was reconciliation. So you can see that there is this blessing on the Jewish people of bringing the people of God together.
It's not your first time coming here, yeah? It's the second time?
The second, yes.
Now you are part of this conference, to our Jerusalem Council too, in the monastery of Neamt. What is your opinion about what's happened during these days here?
In a way, I'm a little sad because the participation was not so great. In a way, I think last year there were more people. I hope next year there will be more. but I'm thankful for those who are here. And I was very touched, for example, by Bishop Daniel yesterday in his speech and his willingness to truly be a bridge between the Jews, the Messianic Jews, and the Orthodox Church. His openness, even his understanding, deep understanding with regards to the calling of the Jews, the place of the Messianic Jews in the larger body. I was very impressed, and of course every time we come together and we share and we discuss things that are important, we touch delicate issues, it's always good, it's always, it bears fruit.
In terms of this relationship of the Messianic movements and the historical churches, Orthodox and Catholics, how you see the development of this relationship in the next years?
I'm very hopeful. Even last year, we met some Orthodox priests, some people who are very much respected in the Orthodox Church, who showed a lot of openness to the Messianic movement. Many of them were rather ignorant of it. They didn't know so much. We had to introduce ourselves, to tell who we are and what God was doing among the Jewish people. But I can really say, and especially in Romania, we've encountered a very generous spirit and a very open heart among the Orthodox Church. Now, with the Catholic Church, we've had already a lot of contacts, much more than with the Orthodox Church. We've been meeting with many people from the Catholic Church, even on a very high level. And also there's a growing awareness of what God is doing among the Jewish people, a growing awareness of the importance of the Messianic part of the body. And so I'm very, very encouraged. I can see that the Lord is really moving in the hearts of many people and preparing something.
As you mentioned before, there is a priesthood call of the Jewish people at large to introduce God to the people, to the nations. Do you consider that this approach of the Messianic movement towards the historical churches and Protestant churches is part of this call of God to represent Him in every nation, unifying the body of Christ? How you sense? Because it's much easier for you to stay in Kerem and to meditate. And
it's much easier, but when God calls you to do something, you have to obey. You have to obey, and you have to pay the price. And for me, actually, it's not so much paying the price because I enjoy it so much. So for me, it's a joy to do that, because it's very much on my heart to reach out to everyone who is open, everyone who is ready. A priestly calling, someone who is called to be, to live a priestly kind of calling, is called to reach out. It goes both ways, you reach out to God and you reach out to the people. And you must do that. Of course it's easier to stay in Enkerem, but I have this fire in my heart pushing me to reach out, to try to bring the people of God together, to gather the people of God.
There are many young people who are watching us during this show. Everybody of us as believers in Yeshua, we have a message in our heart that we like to share with as many people as possible. What is your personal message for the young generation as a Jew believer in Yeshua as Mashiach?
I would say it doesn't have so much to do with my Jewishness, but it is, what is written on my ring of my dedication. At first, I didn't want anything written on my ring, and Benjamin said, "Pray about it." I did, and immediately, this verse came to me. And for me, it's a key verse, and it's a way of life. And what it says is, it's the words of Yeshua in Gethsemane. It says, "Not my will be done, but yours." So it is something for every believer. And if you really want to be a disciple of Messiah, Yeshua said it very clearly. You have to deny yourself, you have to carry the cross and follow him. And this is it's swimming against the flow, against the current. It's not easy, because it's much easier to follow the way of the world, to make money, to have influence, to have fun. This is not what the Lord is calling us, I believe. I believe he is calling us to be radical disciples of himself. And that means to pay the price. Now the price is high. The price is everything. You cannot leave anything to yourself. Because if you belong to him, then you belong to him 100%. And you have to give your whole heart, your strength, your gifts, everything you have to give to him. And then there's the way of the cross. You cannot continue with your own desires, dreams, wishes. You have to give it all to him. All these things have to die in order for you to receive what he has for you. And this is the way that leads to life.
This show is watched mainly by Romanians, because Credo TV is addressed mainly to the Romanians in our country and abroad. May you address from your heart the words to our viewers?
In
please.
Romania?
No, for the Romanians.
For the Romanians?
Yes.
What can I say? I'm privileged to be in Romania. I come to understand more and more the importance of Romania as a Christian country, as a very important country in God's plan. Even like I shared with you about the openness that I can feel in the Orthodox Church. I believe that Romania is a door opener, that the Romanian people are called to open the door, at least in this area. And I'm very thankful. I was very surprised last year to find that out, and to meet brothers, sisters from Romania, see their heart and see their devotion and dedication. I go, even here in Neamt, I go into the chapel here, and I can feel the love and the devotion of the people to God. And that is very impressive, and that is something that I can personally take home with me. So I thank you for that.
Mr. Friedman, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
With us in the show, sharing from your life experience and from your heart. I sense it that you reconcile with God and with yourself, and by divine intervention you find finally the peace.
Amen.
The peace of the world, who is Yeshua.
Amen.
May the Lord bless you. Thank you for your attention. May the Lord bless you all. Shalom, Romania, Shalom, Israel.
În întreaga lume, mulți evrei, aflați în contexte diferite, mărturisesc aceeași transformare radicală a vieții lor în urma unei revelații supranaturale a lui Dumnezeu. Mai mult, în urma căutărilor lor de a găsi sursa acestei revelații, ei ajung la concluzia că Iesua din Nazaret este Mesia lui Israel. Mărturia domnului Eyal Friedman este grăitoare în acest sens. Un semn escatologic se arată din ce în ce mai puternic în zilele noastre. Evreii se întorc la Domnul și Mântuitorul lumii, care este Mesia lui Israel, născut în urmă cu 2000 de ani în Betleemul din Iudeea. Dacă doriți să cunoașteți mai multe informații despre mișcarea TGC2, vă rugăm să ne contactați direct sau prin e-mail. Până la emisiunea următoare, vă dorim din toată inima Shalom România, Shalom Israel.